What's up, everyone? My name is Wade D of Dreamslide Productions. I know everyone has a favorite piece of gear that they use to create or work on music. But today I wanted to shed some light on something that is the unsung hero in my studio. That's not a musical piece of gear at all. The piece of gear we're talking about today is my mouse. More specifically, the Red Dragon M908 gaming mouse. Now, this isn't your ordinary run-of-the-mill mouse. This mouse has quite a few tricks up its sleeve. But first, let's start with some of the basics. I've had countless numbers of mice in my life, but this one feels the most comfortable to me. I have fairly large hands, so I really don't like tiny compact mice. The M908 is a little bit on the larger side. Now, what I have here is a couple mice to compare it to. The first one is a Logitech M185. This is a compact mouse meant to throw in a bag for travel. I hate this size with a passion, but I get how less space could be useful when you have to think about weight restrictions or space limitations within your suitcase or gear bag. For me to use this, I have most of my hand hanging off the mouse and usually position it towards the edge of something to help with that, which ends up putting my hand in this weird little claw position as I move it around. I get it for space constraint situations, but least favorite mouse ever. No notch against Logitech, just about this size. All right, next is the Logitech M310. Now this is more of a normal size mouse. It has some hard contours on the sides, so it can be used in both the right and left hand comfortably. But because of that, if it doesn't fit your hand, you'll end up with some weird odd motions to kind of get around it. This is kind of their approach to like a one size fits all situation, and I feel like they did an okay job with it. Once again, not my vibe at all. All right, and lastly, we have the Red Dragon M908. As you can see, it's larger than the other two. It has places for your ring and pinky to rest, as well as a little lip for your thumb to stay on the mouse as you move it around. This sits well in my hand, and the buttons on the top have a little overhang to them, which means that they can be fired from past the mouse. The buttons also have a really low trigger point, so if you have smaller hands, you can sit your hand up high and still be able to trigger the buttons from almost halfway down the mouse. So they do a good job of trying to appeal to a wide range of hand sizes with a different approach than the Logitech mentioned before. It has a very unique shape in my opinion for a gaming mouse, which helps differentiate it from the other mice on the market. It comes with a bunch of little weights that you can add to the mouse to help tailor its resistance to your needs. And since it's a gaming mouse, it's RGB, and that's important for a later point. Now, feel and look are important in their own right, but the real shining star is there are 20 programmable buttons on this mouse. That's right, 20. Technically, everything you see on this mouse can be programmed to do something unique. There are 8 buttons on the top and 12 buttons on the side. Imagine having all of your most used shortcuts available right at your fingertips. Whether it's in a DAW, video editing software, playing video games, or just navigating around Windows. It's really dope, and I want to show you guys exactly what I mean. Let's show it in action. All right, now you can see we are in Studio One, and let's say I have a singer and we are in the verse section. All right, so we'll say, hey singer, why don't you record something? Cool? All right. Hey singer, that wasn't good. All right, maybe you should just stick to mixing. Cool, so we're gonna undo that, turn that recording off. Maybe I wanna mess with some stuff at the beginning. Let's do that. All right, I forgot the beginning is really just ambient stuff. So we're gonna go to the after chorus, okay? So now we're in the after chorus. And there's actually some cool stuff that happens with these keys and how they interact with some other parts of the song. All right, so what I want to do is I want to loop this. So I'm going to highlight this here, and actually I didn't do a good loop point. So let me turn on the grid and try again. All right, we're going to do this here. Turn on loop follows playback, or selection follows playback, turn on loop. All right, now we have this looping. So this interacts with the scratches and these vocal chops here. Now when you come in here, sometimes when I am mixing or producing or whatever, I'll add a marker or two. I want to make sure that's on the grid. And when I have parts like this, all right, sometimes I like to move some things around. So we'll stop playback. Let's say I'll turn off the grid. Let's say I take from here to here out. All right, we'll cut that out, move that to about here, but we'll put that on the grid. And let's just see how that goes. And in the context of maybe everything, pretty dope, you know, something to mess around with. But as you just saw, my left hand was on this microphone and my right hand was on the mouse. I did all of that editing and navigating around Studio One with just the shortcuts on the mouse. You gotta admit, that's pretty dope. All right, so let's see how I did it. This is the software that comes with it. You can customize the buttons to do different things. So let's go through a couple of the parameters and see what options they have. All right, so this is the front. You have 8 things that you can customize here. You have your left click, your right click, what they call a rapid fire button. When you press the mouse in, when you scroll the mouse up or down, and then you have these 2 buttons below the mouse wheel that you can customize as well. All right, so if we were to look at something here, all of them can do pretty much the same thing. So let's say if we're looking at the left click corresponding with number 1, let's go through some of the parameters. All right, so these correspond to the keyboard button. So when you think of a game, if you want to move left, right, middle, adjust the cursor, I would assume something like that. Basic, you have your commands like copy, paste. You have under Windows, we have switch window, close computer. You can lock it, launch a program, that kind of stuff in there. Under advanced is where you set like your commands. So like say single key, well, I guess because I'm on the left button, it won't let me do that. But you can say when you press a button, like if we go to the side, I'm sure I have like single key is like period or K or L or whatever, where the next they have combo keys like shift 7 and things like that. Pretty straightforward. A fire key is something that presses in concession, so like pressing K 3 times, something like that. I'm not much of a gamer, that is my assumption. I have no idea what a sniper option is. If you know, let me know in the comments, because I did not get that one. You have your media commands, volume up, skip track, stuff like that. We're going to skip DPI for now. You can have your mode switches. We're going to skip that. I'll come back to that, but it's how you change your modes. I have no idea what a polling rate is, and you can launch a macro. Think of macro in a gaming setting at least as crouch, zoom in the scope, fire your weapon, unzoom, uncrouch. You can set all of that to happen with just one key command. Since I use Studio One, which has its own macro thing, I don't really use the macros in a mouse. So it's just not combating each other on what to do. You can turn the button off and you can switch to LED mode. All right, you do have DPI settings. If you're not familiar, DPI settings are how fast your mouse tracks. I usually leave it in the middle. I am moving my hand the same amount left and right. If we start from the bottom, that same amount is very small. We go up one, it's bigger, it's huge, it's practically unusable. I do cycle through these more often than I thought I would, which is actually pretty dope because none of my previous mice ever really gave me that ability. So you can save 5 different settings and you can customize those speeds to your liking as well as the report rate. By default, assigned to the 2 little buttons below the mouse. So DPI is always available. Of course, you can change that to be something else, but that's dope. I like it so much and I just left it the way it is. Real quick, we're going to do modes and lighting kind of in congestion. What's cool is you can change the lighting. I get how that doesn't seem like a big deal, but bear with me for a second. There's another button on the mouse on the bottom called the mode button. And the mode button allows you to switch between the profiles you have saved for the mouse. So I have a profile for Studio One. I have a profile for Premiere Pro, I have a profile for Pro Tools, and I can switch all of that with the button on the mouse. And since I can customize the lighting for it, I have it set as Studio One is blue, Premiere is purple, Pro Tools is pink, and it gives you that visual confirmation that you are in the right mode as you are switching through your mode profiles. Super dope that they added that and helps you organize and give a visual indicator of where you are with the mouse. Now, that's important because all of this stuff, when you're done and you hit apply and save, or apply and OK, saves to the mouse. It doesn't save on your computer in some type of profile thing. I mean, you can do that, so you have backups, but it saves to the mouse. That means if I unplug this mouse and take it to another engineer's home and they use Studio One, all of my commands are in the mouse. I don't have to install this software. I don't have to change things on their computer. That is so dope, especially for someone like me who has a desktop rig and a laptop rig. That is so invaluable. It's ridiculous. You gotta give them credit. That's a pretty dope way to go about things. Now, I've had this mouse since October of 21, and I haven't had any issues. I've dropped it a couple times and it still works like a champ, which says something about its build quality. You also get a 6-foot braided cable, which also helps with the longevity, because 9 times out of 10, we all know the cable is the first thing to go in a wired mouse. So I appreciate the braided cable because those contact points of what it connects to solidifies that it won't kink or bend there. Now, what really makes this mouse my favorite non-musical piece of gear in my studio is how it has transformed my workflow. The level of customization and control that it offers is quite amazing. It's allowed me to streamline my creative process, making it more efficient and enjoyable. Plus, it's a piece of gear that feels personal and tailored to my specific needs, which is something I truly appreciate. Now, Red Dragon is not sponsoring this video or paying me for anything I've said here. I just like giving credit where credit is due, and thought this would be a great piece to talk about because not everyone thinks how a gaming mouse could be helpful in a non-gaming situation, or, like today, a studio setting. All right, now hopefully this brought some value to you. I post a lot of content around production, mixing, and beat tutorials, so if that interests you, please feel free to subscribe, leave a like, and comment below what's your favorite non-musical piece of gear. Maybe I can turn this into a series and we can continue the dialogue in the comments. That's all I got for today. Once again, my name is Wade D of Dreamslide Productions. You have a good day and keep creating.